going on, guys? Welcome to Big Beard and Friends on this Friday night, episode 157. All right, look. First and foremost, if you are being hard on yourself because of situations that you're in, if you are refusing to grow, you know what I'm saying? Could you think something's your fault, or you think you messed up, or you think you didn't do right, or you think, something bad? Stop. Sure, it's easy for me to say it, sure. But I've been there. And I have to tell you, pull yourself. I'm not talking down to you. I'm not looking down on you. Pull yourself up. Matter of fact, you should never look down on somebody as far as that goes, unless you're picking them up. I'll give you my hand, pick you up. Kind of like tonight's topic, in a way. I'm going to talk about overwhelmed, overcoming, and overthinking. And, to be overwhelmed is something that, you bury or drown beneath this huge, mass. And people are overwhelmed daily, You can use that in everyday life. But also, it can be to give too much of a thing, to inundate, I guess, is a better way to say that. A lot of us get overwhelmed and everyday life, because life happens. We know it happens. Can the stress in your life be overwhelming? Sure. Could the stuff that you go through at your job be overwhelming? Once again, everyday life? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you're overwhelmed, can you be a happy person? It's very intense and it's hard to deal with sometimes. You're probably going to laugh. If you need to laugh, it's a feeling of sadness. Sometimes it overcomes us. But for the most part, when we get overwhelmed in our lives, it tends to make one think of negativity. We've all felt overwhelmed. All of us have. Everybody. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. And when you can't shake that feeling of, chronic stress, that's everyday life. And I've read that they say that experts, whoever they are, but it makes sense for this, and we'll agree with this, excuse me, say that it's important to recognize your overwhelming, your stress, when it is in your everyday life. Because it can be a bad thing. Think about being overwhelmed when we just get these little things. Like, it's not hard for me to talk about, but it's hard for me to talk about because I know we all go through it. But I want to be like, tell you what kind of like emotion comes with it and what kind of okay, I'm not an expert at all, but I've read that the emotion with overwhelming is sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's that uncontrollable, uncontrollable uncomfortableness that you just can't shake when something happens to you, or you worry too much, or anxiety. A person can get verbal. You know what I mean? You get overwhelmed. One might start to cry. That could be a big sign of being overwhelmed. They could have a panic attack. Being overwhelmed for a lot of people is not a good thing. It's not one of those things that we like doing in our life. So if it's kind of hard to talk about, like I said, but it is, but it's not. What causes a person to be overwhelmed? I've asked people that, like, what would cause you? And one of the things that I've asked my friends, like, you're overwhelmed right now. Why? What are you doing? What's going on? And they'll give me their answers, and now, tell them my answers. We'll literally start having these conversations at times about certain things in life. And the number one thing is people, when you have too many tasks, when you have too much to do. So in other words, when we have too many responsibilities, too much, and we lose our sense of being able to handle them, or our sense, of overwhelmingness will hit you hard. I'm just saying. I'm not perfect. I don't want to be perfect. Kind of takes me on to my my next topic. We need to work on overcoming. And the definition of overcoming. You ever thought about that? You ever thought when we overcome stuff, does this stuff soak in? To succeed in dealing with your problem, that defeat, that overpower, overwhelm. See where I'm going with this? We can overcome our battles. Our biggest problem is us. We can blame problems on people. We can have problems because of people. But I'm just saying, where I'm from, even scripture talks about to overcome. You ever thought about that? What does it mean if you're into the scripture for a moment? What does it mean to overcome? Can you find that in the Bible? Sure, it's to defeat someone or something in a conflict. The saints are the overcomers of the evil one. David and Goliath. David overcome. You see? If you want to get the best out of life, the best out of what you have to do. What is it? What do they call it? The surmount. To overcome these difficulties. You got to. You have to learn. Now, tonight, I'm not trying to preach to nobody. I'm not trying to, want to change the world. That's not something I thrive. I want to help people. It's more so from my experiences. Being real is not that it's hard. That's what I do. I overcame. That's the form of it that I want. To be better than I was before. I don't know. Maybe that's me. Kind of brings me to my next topic. Overthinking. I know that all of us, a lot of us, are guilty of overthinking. Whether you want to admit it or not, I don't know why one wouldn't, or whatever the case may be. But when you dwell on something for too long and think about something for way too long, it can get you in trouble. Like, when I say trouble, I'm talking, what does it really mean to overthink? You dwell on it the same, and it messes with your brain, messes with your life, messes with you. It gets you in trouble. I mean, like in a place where you can't get out of, and I think it's also known as rumination or whatever. I might have said that wrong. Ruminate, get it in. Over and over and over and over. And it's probably something that is very small. You worry about the future, or you ruminate about the past. I'm guilty of it. Very, very, very. I think all of us are. When it comes down to it, if you say that you are not an overthinker, you have never had anything, I know you're lying. I know that. And if you're not an overthinker at all, then you're lying. I can't. I think I was reading, let me see here, that, where's my notes there? That Duke says, university says it's, there's an anxiety disorder, apparently. GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, for overthinking. And it said someone can develop this in their genes. Believe it or not, it's something that can happen, overthinking. They want to be like, what kind of person has this? They tend to usually they say tend to score high. And when it comes to the neurotic department, the personality traits, their openness, conceitedness, extroversion, and agreeableness. You know what I mean? Agreeableness. I think I messed that up there. But their moodiness and their worry and their envy and their frustration, all that usually comes with the overthinking. Is it a mental illness? I can't answer that. They say that it could have real bad, impacts on our lives. People can be affected big time by overthinking. You overthink something to the point sometimes where you lose your mind. I'm guilty of it. You talking about ruminate? Oh man, I could go, and I on and on and on and on how I've dwelled, about my past. In reality, I should worry about my present, and not worry, but instead of rehashing my past and dwelling on my bad experiences and worrying about my future, I should that's just me being transparent. You know, I suffer a lot from being overwhelmed, trying to overcome and overthink so much that it has, I think, taken its mental toll on me. They say it's. I was reading the other day that it's often linked to, psychological problems, like depression and anxiety, and it can cause this big mental health. Like I don't think people understand. Overthinking is like, it can be viewed as, you might say, is it weak? Yeah, it can be viewed as a weakness and a strength. It's not a strong answer to give when you ask about your weakness. I'm just saying, in some respects, the overthinker can be, I guess you'd say, viewed as unsure of themselves, or that's not the decision maker that I want. I know all these things and I don't apply the stuff. I think because I really know deep down inside, I feel I don't have enough strength to control, certain things. And I want to work on that. Well, I'll talk about that another time. I don't know. Overwhelming, overcoming, and overthinking, I think, affects so much. And there's so much that we can do. I don't know. I do know this. That's all I got today. That's all I got. Between my notes, between sharing things, being inspired by people that I have seen on my Facebook. You guys, I'm seeing a lot more people doing this, overthinking, overcoming, getting overwhelmed. And I'm like, wow, I'm in there too, but let me, show them or see, if they know what works for me might work for you. I don't know. But anyway, guys, that's all I got. I know I got 3 words that I say every show. What is that? Every Friday I say those 3 things that seem to keep reoccurring. Love, peace, chicken grease. Guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.